Greetings, nerds. This is Bill, and today I want to take a look at a comic series that just kind of wrapped up from Spider-Man, the Dark Web series. So it's a crossover event that had about 20 issues, 6 different series, and a total of 7 different writers. So in those numbers there, I think lies a lot of the problems. But there were some good things in the series that were worth reading, and good arts. But it had a lot of problems along the way. It wasn't all bad. It wasn't good. I think, when people, have problems with consistency in the MCU, they need to take a serious look at Marvel crossover events too. Because like I said, there's 7 different authors, and I think a lot of them were just kind of fighting and among themselves. I don't know if fighting's the right word. When you work with creatives, there is this competitive and collaborative kind of environment. They're still competing against themselves and against others because they want to sell more comics than anybody else. They may have their favorites and other people they like to work with, but there's a little bit of a dynamic there. So I think when you have these crossover events, some authors are not going to give you the best of the best. And I think there's a little bit of a poker game there. And I think halfway through this series, the authors on there realized this was a big joke. And I think that's a lot of the problems. At a certain point in time, the conflict in here, you couldn't take seriously. All right, let's take a step back and kind of look at what the Dark Web series is. So the main conflict, the 2 bad guys we have Ben Reilly, who has now become Chasm, and then we have Madeline Pryor, Queen Goblin. So this is the clone of Jean Grey. So we kind of have the evil clones, and I don't necessarily like that Ben Reilly's evil, but he is based on other things that happened within the Beyond Corp series. Won't get into that. That was a great. Ben Reilly has been a great Spider-Man, one of my favorites. So I didn't like that, but he was a good villain here too, for the most part. I think Amazing Spider-Man number 16 represented this conflict best. It had the duality of the clones, the duality of kind of man, the good, the bad, the yin and the yang of Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and Chasm Ben Reilly. This is what the whole series should have been like, and it would have been, a 5-star review. It didn't. I think they bit off more than they can chew. So like I said, there's 7 different series. We have Amazing Spider-Man. We had the kind of the opens and the closes, the dawn and the dusk. We had Dark Web Miss Marvel. Then we had the regular Venom series, Gold Goblin, Mary Jane and Black Cat. This is the Peach Momoko cover. Dark Web X-Men. And, like I said, this is the open. So all of these different series, all of these different authors trying to put together one cohesive piece. No, it didn't happen. But like I said, there's some good moments in here. Overall, I think the series, the main storyline started off strong and ended strong. In the middle, there was a lot of filler. I think they tried to, and I think in some cases, the X-Men needed a little more time to develop, but we have Puppygate. I'll get into Puppygate in a little bit. I'm going to have to set that down and step away from my soapbox there. Talk about the great moments. I really enjoy this Mary Jane Black Cat combo. It's kind of this different thing. I like the way it's written. I like the storyline. So what's kind of interesting here is as this event is going on, Mary Jane and Black Cat get sucked into limbo and kind of get involved with a side quest. Well, Dark Web ends and they're still in limbo. Their story's still going on. So, talk about disconnected stories, but this is one of the better parts. As far as I think what was better written was this. If you like Black Cat and that kind of anti-hero, almost witty, cocky, sexy thing. That's what it is. And I liked it. The other one this kind of took me by surprise, but this is a solid read. Gold Goblin. So what this is Norman Osborn it's his redemption story. He's trying to be a good guy. So this is, again, I love the anti-heroes. He's the bad guy as an anti-hero trying to become a hero. And his conflict inside his own head, with his family, his perception of who he is and who he wants to be. Great. I mean, this is one of my top recommendations of new comics to read. So far, I've really enjoyed every single issue, and it's made me want the next one. That aside. Okay, next on the list is Venom. So remember I was talking about the authors. Venom has Al Ewing and Ram V. Two writers writing the same comic book. So that's two more pieces of the puzzle. And really, there are, I think, 3 or 4 issues with the dark web kind of logo on it, brand for Venom. This one is the only one that has anything to do with the main storyline. Venom number 14. As a Venom fan, I didn't like this because this brought back dumb Venom. Nah, eat brains, like dumb Hulk. But it was Venom. It's just a monster that was just obsessed with killing Peter Parker and eating his brains. I've liked the King in Black. I like the highly thought out, either anti-hero villain or, symbiote god that he is now. So I found it hard to swallow. I think it made sense with what Dark Web wanted, but I think again, with consistency, this was not the Venom that people have been reading. This is like Lethal Protector or earlier Venom. They called him Lethal Protector, but I thought Lethal Protector was a little bit smarter than this. It's been a while since I read that, so take that for what it's worth. The other add-on was Dark Web Miss Marvel. I like the first ones. The other ones afterwards, it didn't add anything. They were just there kind of fighting these limbo monsters. So part of the plot line is Maddie opens Limbo and brings in all these demons from Limbo to New York City. After a while, they're just a joke. They are a punchline. They're not a threat. They're a distraction or a joke. So, I mean, there's a certain point in time when you just couldn't take any of it seriously. It reminded me of Ghostbusters, when they release all the stuff from the chamber. I can't remember the names now. MC Virus kicked my butt. But like when the phone book turned into a monster, or like the fur jacket comes alive and starts attacking the lady, it was that kind of campy, cheesy. I think Ghostbusters did it way better. The tree in Rockefeller Center comes alive as a demon and attacks the X-Men. That was one of the more dramatic and kind of monstrous. They get worse after that. Magazines chasing after them. So that was just the common thread, but it didn't add much. And then, okay, spoilers coming up soon. So if you're planning on reading this, don't. Before I do that, if you are planning, just read Amazing Spider-Man and X-Men, and then the one Venom that I just mentioned. I'll put that on the notes. Venom 14. That's my reading order. The rest don't mean anything. Read them aside. I recommend, like the Black Cat, Mary Jane, and Gold Goblin. Read those in order in their own series apart from everything else. You don't need everything else. That's the best way to go. As far as spoilers. So let's get into why I can't take this seriously. Puppygate. So remember, this is kind of old X-Men style when somebody kidnapped Scott, Cyclops, and to prevent him from, zapping somebody, they put him right next to Jean Grey. So if he opened his eyes, he would blow up his lover. Same thing happens. Maddie, the Goblin Queen, kidnaps Scott. And instead of It might be a little bit hard to read. So see, puppies. They put puppies around Scott's head. So if he opens his eyes, he's gonna zap some puppies. I'm not making this up. That's what most of this book was. And actually the puppies are pretty cute looking. I have to say they look really adorable. You wouldn't want these puppies to be hurt. But as far as like a action comic, I mean, come on, there's 3 or 4 panels of just these puppies, and that's what's holding him in. Okay. Puppygate. And, at the end, in issue 3, they did mention all the puppies were returned to their owners, although Scott did want to keep a few for himself. So those are the biggest things that happened in this X-Men comic. Okay, there's one big, so now here we go. Here, we're getting into spoilers. So spoiler alert here. This had a kind of Twilight bullshit kind of moment for me. And what I mean by that is all the conflict just gets written off in a single line. So this is all about the clones kind of gaining their memory back as far as Maddie and Ben Reilly. In X-Men, in the 3rd issue, Jean Grey is battling Maddie. All out magic brawl. Pretty cool art, a pretty cool thing. But then at a certain point in time, Jean Grey just kind of stops and then says, here you go. Here's all those memories you've been looking for. We don't need to fight. Here's everything. You don't need to bring Limbo back and cause all these problems. Here they are. And she goes, oh, thank you. Oh, now I'm an X-Men. Yeah, you're an X-Men. Yay. Everything's good. So she drug up all of these demons, threw them in New York, causing chaos, made Chasm, Ben Reilly, super powered and trying to cause vendetta, death, and destruction everywhere. Oh, it's okay. You're all right. It's okay. My bad. Bullshit. She's a crazy ass bitch. I'm sorry. Not sorry. But in the veil of kind of Spider-Man, he always wants to redeem or rehabilitate the characters, the villains. I think that's an important part. So I think, okay. And this is also where I think they could have used another issue to flush that out. I think that would have made me, I think that was my big issue. Sorry for calling you a bitch. She'd probably do some Sonic things that fuck me up. But I had a problem with that. But it made sense. They had to wrap it up. And I think I didn't want to read through another one of these comics. Really been disappointed with X-Men. So maybe that's my bias. If you disagree with me, tell me. I wouldn't be the first time that I've been wrong. Kind of same thing with Venom. Venom had nothing to do with the main stories, and it's difficult to kind of stomach. It's like yuck, because I think after I think it was the Amazing Spider-Man 14, or no, that's not the right number. You couldn't take it serious. It was like, is this a joke? This is a joke. I cannot believe any of this stuff that's happening. It doesn't make sense. So that being said, if I'm giving it a rating of stars out of 10 stars, it's getting a 5 or a 6. I think if they just stuck with Amazing Spider-Man, just stuck with one of those villains, not the Queen Goblin, and we have other villains in Venom and Gold Goblin. Gold Goblin we have not only the Queen Goblin, but we have Goblin Queen. So there are 2 Queen Goblin, Goblin Queens in this whole story. Completely different characters. The character in Gold Goblin, I believe it was 2 or 3. So they're fighting the Queen Goblin. So this is a goblin that has all the regular kind of Green Goblin effects, the glider, but she also has the ability to kind of inflict kind of psychic wormholes. So they're thinking that they're a failure and stuck, and everybody's like, it's almost like their own little cosmic hell or limbo. It felt more like a true, what I would imagine psychologically a limbo would be like, than everything else when they were dealing with actual limbo in these other stories. So, I mean, again, this is why I think the level of writing on this was so much better. Gonna wrap it up there. I think this is a total cash grab. Marvel, let's be honest. This could have been done better as 2 separate series. Dealing with Ben Reilly and Spider-Man, 5-6 issues, and then X-Men, 3 or 4 issues with Madeline Pryor, Goblin Queen. We did not need Limbo. We did not need this crossover event. There was way too much filler, too many different directions, not enough consistency. There was some good writing in there, but it was muddied up by all of the extras. But then again, the extras were the best part. When the extras decided, hey, I don't want anything to do with this main storyline, I'm going to do my own thing, they were good. Kind of odd. But if you're able to find this with trade paperback or maybe digitally, and you enjoy Spider-Man, like I said, there were some good moments. It'd be worth it. Cover price for all of them. I feel a little bit ripped off.